Rice bags, one of the most popular insults in Indian politics. Christians are rice bags, backward communities are dependent, reservation destroys merit, people convert for rice, people study because of quotas. That is what we've been told. But here is my question. Before we talk about rice bags, who exactly were the real ones? Because if we are being honest, India had rice bags long before the word rice bag was invented. And the people who weaponized this insult may have forgotten to look into the mirror. The term rice bag became a slur mainly directed at Christians. The accusation was simple. These people converted for food and they sold their belief for a bag of rice. Over the time, meaning expanded. Scholarship, rice bag. Welfare, rice bag. Reservation, rice bag. Government support, rice bag. Apparently, if you are poor and society helps you survive, you lose your dignity. But let's apply the same standard equally. Who exactly received the first support in the Indian society? Long before the modern welfare schemes existed, Indian society had its own support system. And one of the biggest beneficiaries of those systems were Brahmins. There was something called bhiksha, food and grains given by every household every morning as a religious duty. There were agraharams, entire streets of rent-free housing built exclusive for Brahmin families, funded by temple endowments and royal grants. Kings across India gifted thousands of acres of lands to Brahmin settlements, not earned but granted by birth. Kings funded priestly positions for generations. Priestly position passed through birth. Religious authority passed through birth. Access to sacred knowledge was restricted by birth. Education itself was concentrated within particular caste for centuries. It wasn't called dependency, it was called a tradition. Society supported these roles for generations, even today. Now comes the irony. The descendants of a system that normalized bhiksha began mocking Christians and OBC Hindus for receiving charity. The descendants of a system built on hereditary privileges began mocking backward communities for using constitutional safeguards. The people who accepted rice and grains from the society with pride started calling others as rice bags. Think about it. If an orphan child eats in a missionary school, he becomes a rice bag. If an OBC student uses reservation, merit is supposedly dead. But one particular group for generations inherit educational advantages, social networks, priestly monopolies, temple incomes, cultural authority, and access things which are denied to others for centuries. Suddenly it becomes merit. Suddenly it becomes hard work. Suddenly it becomes tradition. This is not just ancient history. Look at newsrooms, look at cricket commentators, look at corporate bosses. What is the percentage of OBC representation where there is no reservation? In a places they say no reservation, open field, pure merit, anyone can make it, and yet the same network and the same surname keeps appearing. Nobody calls it as rice bags. Today, reservation is treated as the greatest crime against merit. But birth-based exclusivity existed long before the constitution was written. The Manusmriti coded who could teach, who could learn, and who should be punished for trying. In their own mythology, Ekalavya lost his thumb, not in battle, but his birth disqualified him from knowledge. That's a story they wrote it themselves, and they still wrote it that way. Shambuka, a Sudra sage who dared to meditate, was beheaded not for violence but for seeking knowledge above his caste. Those were not accidents in the text, those were warnings. Reservation did not appear from nowhere. It appeared to correct a system which was unfair for centuries. The Brahmin families who got free meals at temple did not call it charity. The priest's son who inherited the temple position did not call it nepotism. They call it family, they call it community, they call it belonging. So the support was never the problem. The problem is who gets that support. So let's settle this. If bhiksha is culture, reservation is policy. Those who tolerated birth-based exclusivity for centuries don't get to become guardians of merit only after the excluded started getting their share. You don't get to define dependency only if it started inconvenience for you. The rice bag insult was never about rice. It's about who ate quietly and still continued to eat others' resources in the name of caste, in the name of religion, in the name of God for centuries.